Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In previous lecture, we have discussed impact of free jets on stationary plates. So this lecture is continuation of that lecture. In this lecture, we will study the impact of free jets on moving plates. We will discuss three cases like force exerted on moving flat plate held normal to the jet, then force exerted on moving flat plate held inclined to the jet, and then force exerted on moving curved plate. Uh, so let's start with the very first case of flat plate held normal to the jet. Force exerted on moving flat plate held normal to the jet. You can see in this figure there is a pipe with the nozzle at the end, and a jet is issued from this nozzle. This strikes a flat plate which is held normal to the jet, means this is at an angle 90 degree to the jet, and this is moving with velocity u. Velocity of jet is v and velocity of this plate is denoted with u. So other terms are same as we have discussed in the case of stationary plates. Like v is absolute velocity of jet and a is cross-sectional area of jet. The new term introduced is u, which is velocity of flat plate held normal to the jet. Here another term will be used, which is relative velocity. What is relative velocity? The relative velocity is that velocity with which the jet strikes the plate, which will be v minus u. So mass of water striking the plate per second will be rho a into v minus u. In case of stationary plates, the mass per second was rho a v, but in moving plate we will take relative velocity instead of absolute velocity because the plate is moving. So the mass per second will be rho a into v minus u. Now we will calculate the force exerted by jet on the plate in the direction of jet. So Fx will be according to impulse momentum equation, which we have discussed in previous lecture, that Fx is equals to mass of water striking the plate per second into change in velocity. So we will enter the initial velocity with which water strikes the plate and the final velocity. As we are calculating the x component of force, the initial velocity in x direction is v minus u, and final velocity in x direction is 0 because the jet will deflect in these directions, and x component after striking the plate will be 0. So rho a into v minus u is mass per second, into v minus u is initial velocity, minus 0 is final velocity in x direction. Upon simplification, we get Fx equals to rho a into v minus u whole square. When we were studying stationary plates, we have seen that work done was 0 because the plate was not moving, but in this case the plate is moving, so work done will be calculated by multiplying this force with the distance through which the body moves in the direction of force. So work done will be equal to rho a into v minus u whole square multiplied by u. So you can note that in this very first case of moving plate, this case is not practically feasible because the distance between the nozzle and the plate will go on increasing. However, if a series of plates is fitted on the wheel, then there is always a plate facing the jet. Then the entire fluid issuing from the jet will strike the plates. Now let us discuss our next case in which the plate is moving. It is flat, but it is held inclined to the direction of jet, as you can see in this figure. Here a nozzle is fitted at the end of a pipe from which a jet is issued, which strikes the plate, which is held inclined to the jet. The jet velocity is v, the plate velocity is u, and the relative velocity will be v minus u, and the angle between the jet and the plate will be theta. So again we will use the impulse momentum equation to find out the normal force, which is the force exerted by a jet on the plate in the direction normal to the plate, denoted by Fn. So Fn will be equal to mass per second into change in velocity. So mass per second is rho a into v minus u. As I have explained that we are dealing with moving plates, so v minus u will be used instead of v. Then initial velocity in x direction is v minus u sine theta, and final velocity is 0. So v minus u sine theta is the velocity component in normal direction, and final velocity is 0. So normal force will be rho a into v minus u whole square into sine theta, and component of this force in the direction of jet, that is Fx, will be calculated by resolving this force into x and x component. So Fx will be Fn sine theta, or Fx will be equal to rho into v minus u whole square into sine square theta into a. So work done will be Fx into u is equals to rho a into v minus u whole square into sine theta into u. So our third case is force exerted on a curved plate when the plate is moving in the direction of jet. You can see the figure here. A jet is striking a plate which is curved in shape, and this is moving with velocity u. The figure shows a fluid jet striking at the center of the curved vane, moving with a uniform velocity in the direction of jet. Let v is absolute velocity of jet, a is area of jet, and u is velocity of plate in the direction of jet. When the jet strikes the moving vane, the effective velocity is the relative velocity, v minus u. Component of this velocity in the direction of jet will be minus v minus u cos theta. So the negative sign indicates that this component is in the direction opposite to the jet. As you can see in this figure, that when the jet strikes the plate, it will divert at angle theta. So you can resolve this relative velocity v minus u into x and y component. This is x component, v minus u cos theta, in the direction opposite to the direction of the jet, and this is the y component of this velocity, v minus u sine of theta. So in mass of fluid striking the plate will be rho a into v minus u, and force exerted will be calculated by using the impulse momentum equation, which states that Fx is equals to mass striking per second into change in velocity. So initial velocity with which jet strikes the vane is v minus u, and final velocity after striking the plate is minus v minus u cos theta. Upon simplification, we get Fx equals to rho a v minus u whole square into 1 plus cos theta, and we can find out the work done on the vane per second by multiplying this force with the velocity of the plate. Now kinetic energy of the issuing jet is equals to 1 by 2 mv square, and as we know that mass is equals to rho av, so it becomes 1 by 2 rho av cube. With the help of this kinetic energy, we can calculate the efficiency by using the formula work done over kinetic energy supplied by the jet. So we have calculated the work done in the previous slide, which is rho av minus u whole square into 1 plus cos theta into u, and kinetic energy is given here as 1 by 2 rho av cube. So upon simplification, we get efficiency is equals to 2 into v minus u whole square into 1 plus cos theta into u divided by v cube. So now we have to find out that when the efficiency will be maximum, and that is we can check that what should be the plate velocity that efficiency will be maximum. So in order to find out this, we have to differentiate this equation. For given jet velocity, the efficiency will be maximum when the d eta over du is equals to 0. So we will use the equation for efficiency and differentiate it with respect to u. So upon doing the differentiation, we get the following results. So for a given system, as we know that the term 2 over v cube into 1 plus cos theta is not equal to 0. So the second term can be equal to 0, which is v square plus 3u square minus 4vu. Upon simplification, we find out the factors that either u equals to v or u equals to v by 3. So these are the two conditions. So now we will check that which condition will declare that efficiency will be maximum. If we enter u equals to v, then the work done becomes 0. You can check from this equation of work done that if we enter v equals to u, then this equation becomes 0. So this is not the possible case. The only possibility is that when vane velocity is equal to 1/3 of the jet velocity, then efficiency will be maximum. So this was the case of a single vane. Now we will consider the case of series of vanes. In this case, there is always one vane or the other facing the jet. For example, curved vanes mounted equidistantly around the periphery of a wheel and the entire fluid is utilized. Mass of fluid striking the vanes per second equals rho AV. In this case, when series of vanes are fitted, then whole jet will be utilized, then mass per second will be rho AV instead of rho AV minus U. So the force exerted by jet on vane will be Fx equals to rho AV into initial velocity minus final velocity. In x direction, initial velocity was v minus u and final velocity was minus v minus u cos of theta. Upon simplification, we get Fx equals to rho AV into v minus u into 1 plus cos theta, and work done can be calculated by multiplying this force with the velocity of vane, which is u. Now again doing the same procedure, kinetic energy supplied by the jet is 1 by 2 rho AV cube. So efficiency can be calculated by dividing the work done with kinetic energy supplied by the jet. Upon entering the values, we get following equation for efficiency: 2u into v minus u into 1 plus cos theta divided by v square. Now we will check that what should be the plate velocity in order to get the maximum efficiency. So we will follow the same procedure of differentiation. So now differentiating this efficiency with respect to u and equating to 0, we get the following equation. Since this first component cannot be equal to 0, so v minus 2u equals to 0, or v equals to 2u, or u should be equal to v by 2. Hence, for maximum efficiency of the wheel, the peripheral speed is 1/2 the velocity of the jet. So we have seen that in when single vane is used, then u will be equal to v by 3, and when series of vanes will be considered, then u should be equal to v by 2 in order to get the maximum efficiency. If we enter the value of u in the equation of efficiency to get maximum efficiency, where u is equals to v by 2, then we get eta maximum equals 1 plus cos theta by 2. And then when theta is 0, the vanes are semicircular and eta is 100%. The theoretical maximum efficiency of wheel is 100%, and this concept is utilized in the design of buckets for Pelton wheel. When you will study the Pelton wheel in advanced fluid mechanics, you will see that the buckets are almost semicircular. These are not 100% semicircular. There is some deflection angle which is limited to 160 to 170 degree because of some reasons which we will discuss in detail when we will study Pelton wheel. This some deflection is basically ensured that the jet coming out of a bucket does not interfere with the jet striking the bucket. So efficiency in that case is slightly less than 100%, but if we go for complete semicircular shape, then efficiency will be 100%. And now the last case of this moving plate is jet striking a moving curved vane tangentially at one tip and leaving at the other. You can see this figure. There is a jet striking a moving curved vein tangentially at one tip and leaving at the other. There is a nozzle fitted at the end of a pipe. A jet is issued which strikes this curved plate, which is moving with the velocity u. This jet strikes the plate at one end tangentially. You can see different values here. This is V1, this is VR1, this is VF1 and VW1, this is U1. These are the angles alpha and theta, and there are angle theta and phi because the plate is unsymmetrical. At the outlet tip you can see this is V2, this is VR2, this is VF2, then VW2 and U2, and the angles are beta and phi. This is inlet velocity triangle and this is outlet velocity triangle. I will explain what are these triangles and how these can be made. So the figure shows a jet striking a moving curved vein tangentially at one tip and leaving at the other. The effective velocity with which the jet strikes the vein is relative velocity, as we have discussed in all the previous cases. The relative velocity VR1 may be obtained by drawing the velocity triangles at the inlet. The absolute velocity at the exit may be obtained from the velocity triangle at the outlet. As I've said that the velocity triangles are visible in this figure. Now I will explain what are these different terms, V1, V2, VR1, VR2, U1, U2, and what are these VF and VW, which are the new terms introduced to you in this topic. So V1 and V2 are the absolute velocities of the jet at inlet and outlet respectively. U1 and U2 are the peripheral velocities of the vein at inlet and outlet respectively. VR1 and VR2 are relative velocities at inlet and outlet respectively. VF1 and VF2 are velocities of flow at inlet and outlet respectively. VW1 and VW2 are velocities of whirl at inlet and outlet respectively. Theta and phi are tip angles at inlet and outlet respectively, and alpha and beta are angles which the absolute velocities make at inlet and outlet respectively. It may be noted that all angles are measured with the direction of motion of vein, and the velocity of whirl is component of absolute velocity in the direction of motion, and velocity of flow is component of absolute velocity normal to direction of motion. This means that if you resolve the absolute velocity into x and y components, this is absolute velocity. If you resolve it into x and y component, then you get whirl velocity and flow velocity. So the x component of this absolute velocity is whirl velocity, and y component of this absolute velocity is flow velocity. Same is true for absolute velocity at the outlet. And the triangles ABD and B prime C prime D prime are called inlet and outlet velocity triangles. So these, how to draw these velocity triangle, we will discuss in this slide. So this is inlet velocity triangle, this ABD. How we can draw this? You can take any point A, this one, and draw a line AB, this one, whose length should be equal to the magnitude of absolute velocity at inlet. And you should draw this line at an angle alpha with the horizontal. Now in the second step, you will draw a line AC, this horizontal line, which should be equal to U1. U1 is the peripheral velocity of vein at the inlet, and then you will join this point C with this point B. This CB then represents the relative velocity of jet at inlet, which will be denoted by VR1. If loss of energy at inlet due to impact is 0, then CB must be in the tangential direction to the vane at inlet. Then from B, you will draw a perpendicular BD meeting the horizontal line AC produced at D. Then this BD will represent the velocity of flow at inlet, and this AD will represent the velocity of whirl at inlet, and this angle BCD will be equal to theta, which is the vane angle at inlet. So now we will discuss outlet velocity triangle. This is the outlet velocity triangle. This is absolute velocity V2, and this is relative velocity VR2. Components of absolute velocity are VF2 and VW2. This is peripheral velocity U2, and these are the angle beta and phi. Beta is the angle made by absolute velocity, and phi is the angle of vane at outlet. So how we can draw this outlet velocity triangle? If we have assumption that the vane surface is smooth, then energy loss due to friction will be 0, and then VR1 will be equal to VR2. So you will draw this line B prime C prime, which will be equal to VR2, and that is equal to VR1. And then after making this line B prime C prime equal to the magnitude of VR2, from this point C prime, you will draw a line C prime A prime in the direction of vane at outlet, and that should be equal to U2, which is the velocity of vane at outlet. Then you will join this point B prime with this A prime. Then this line A prime B prime will represent absolute velocity of jet at outlet, which is denoted as V2. Now from B prime, you will draw a perpendicular B prime D prime, which will meet in this line A prime C prime produced at D prime. Then this B prime D prime will indicate the vertical component of absolute velocity, which is flow velocity denoted as VF2, and this A prime D prime will indicate the horizontal component of absolute velocity denoted as VW2 and known as whirl velocity. And these phi and beta are this phi is angle made by vane at outlet, and beta is the angle made by absolute velocity with direction of motion of vane at outlet. So in this manner, you will draw these inlet and outlet velocity triangles. Now if vane is smooth and is having the velocity in the direction of motion at inlet and outlet equal, then U1 and U2 both will be equal to U, and in that case VR1 will be equal to VR2, as we have discussed. So mass of water striking the vane per second will be rho A VR1, where A is area of jet of water. So now we can calculate force exerted in the direction of motion. So Fx is equal to mass of water striking the vane per second into change in velocity according to impulse momentum equation. So mass of water striking per second is rho A VR1, and initial velocity is VR1 cos theta, and final velocity is minus VR2 cos phi, as you can see from this figure. This is relative velocity, and its x component will be VR1 cos theta. And this is relative velocity at the outlet, and when you will resolve it, you get VR2 cos phi in the opposite direction. So upon entering the values, you get the following equation. One more thing you can see from this figure, that VR1 cos theta. If you resolve this velocity VR1 into x and y component, and then this dotted line is the x component of relative velocity, which is equals to VW1 minus U1, you can see from this figure. So we can write VR1 cos theta equals to VW1 U1, and similarly VR2 cos phi equals to U2 plus VW from this figure that you can see. Upon resolving this velocity into x component, you get this complete line which is equals to U2 plus VW2. So upon simplification, we get Fx is equal to rho a VR1 into VW1 plus VW2. But what are the limitations of this equation? This equation is true only when beta is an acute angle. If beta is 90 degree, then VW2 will be 0, and the equation will reduce to the form Fx equals to rho a VR1 VW1. And if beta is obtuse angle, the expression will become rho a VR1 into VW1 minus VW2. In this figure, you can see if this beta is 90 degree, then this V2 will be 0, because it will become straight and beta will be 0. And in case when beta is obtuse angle, then negative value will be used. So the general expression for Fx becomes Fx equals rho a VR1 into VW1 plus minus VW2. Now work done can be easily calculated by multiplying this force with the peripheral velocity, and this work done can be expressed as in terms of per unit weight of fluid striking. So weight of fluid striking is equals to rho a VR1 into G. So we get 1 over G VW1 plus minus VW2 into U. Now if series of radial curved vanes are fitted, then what will be the scenario? In this case, consider a series of radial curved vanes mounted on a wheel. This is a wheel. This is wheel center. This is R1 and this is R2. These are different radius from the outlet and from the inlet. You can see these are different vanes which are mounted on a wheel. The jet water impinges upon the vanes and the wheel starts rotating at constant angular speed. And these are the velocity triangle. These are drawn in the similar manner which we have just discussed. This is the inlet velocity triangle. This is the outlet velocity triangle. This is the inlet tip of vane and this is the outlet tip of vane. Other terms are same, like V1 and V2 are the absolute velocities at inlet and outlet. VR1 and VR2 are relative velocities at inlet and outlet. And similarly, VW1 and VF1 are the components of absolute velocity at inlet, and VW2 and VF2 are component of absolute velocities at outlet. And similarly, as we have discussed, the angles theta, alpha, beta and phi. Now omega will be the angular speed of the wheel, and R1 and R2 are the radii of the wheel at inlet and outlet of the vane respectively. As the vanes are situated radially around the wheel, the blade velocities at inlet and outlet tips of the vane would be different in this case, and U1 will be equal to omega R1 and U2 will be equals to omega R2. The flow system is inward or outward depending upon whether the jet enters the outer periphery or the inner periphery. It can be the case, we will discuss it in detail when we will study the turbines. So the inlet and outlet triangles are shown in the figure. Now the mass of water striking per second when series of vanes are mounted, in that case mass of water issuing from the nozzle is equals to rho a v1, and when a single vein is considered for moving plate, then mass per second is rho a vr1. But since we are dealing with series of vanes in this case, so mass of water per second is equals to rho a v1, where v1 is velocity of jet and a is its cross sectional area. Now, momentum of water striking the vanes per second at inlet can be calculated by multiplying this mass with the velocity. So, it will be equal to rho AV1 into VW1. And VW1 is equals to V1 cos alpha, which is component of V1 in tangential direction. Similarly, momentum of water per second at outlet is this mass multiplied by tangential velocity in outlet direction, and at outlet tip is VW2. Negative sign means that this is in opposite direction, so it becomes minus rho AV1 into VW2, and VW2 is equals to V2 cos beta. Now, angular momentum per second at inlet will be obtained by multiplying the momentum at inlet with radius at inlet. So, this was the momentum and this was the radius at inlet, and angular momentum at outlet will be obtained by multiplying the momentum at outlet with outlet radius. Now, torque exerted by water on wheel will be rate of change of angular momentum. So, initial angular momentum per second minus final angular momentum per second, we will enter the values rho a v1 into vw1 into r1. This is the initial angular momentum minus rho a v1 vw2 into r2. This is the final angular momentum. We get the following equation for torque, rho a v1 into vw1 r1 plus vw2 into r2. Now, work done on the wheel can be calculated by multiplying this torque with its angular speed, which is omega. So, we get the following equation for work done per second on the wheel, rho AV1 into VW1 U1 plus VW2 U2. Since how we get this U1, as we have discussed that U1 equals to omega R1 and U2 equals to omega R2. So, upon entering this in equation, we have got the final equation for work done per second on the wheel. So, in case beta is an obtuse angle, then work done per second will become rho AV1 into VW1 U1 minus VW2 U2. And similarly, the general expression will be that with a plus minus sign. And if discharge is radial at outlet and beta is 90 degree, then work done equation will be reduced to this form, rho AV1 into VW1 U1, because in that case ball velocity at outlet will be 0. And now we will calculate the efficiency of the radial curved vane. So, in order to calculate the efficiency, we will divide the work done per second with the kinetic energy per second, and hence we get this equation, 2 VW1 U1 plus minus VW2 U2 divided by V1 square.